Hey, want to go through like our kind of strategy for encounter 4 for salvations. Um, there's kind of 3 different versions that we can have. So I just got like kind of obviously what the statue is holding up here, and then what the wall for each of those rooms is going to show, and then how we're going to get to the kind of end here once we get there. So there's 3 different kind of options. Like one option you have is that like obviously if you're the triangle person, you can have triangle, triangle on your wall, and the circle person can have 2 circles, the square person can have 2 squares. That's like the really easy one. Everyone's doubled up, and then they can distribute as per normally. So this triangle would end up over here, this triangle would end up over here, this circle would end up over here, this circle ends up over here, the square, and then the square. All right, that's like the really, really easy one. Because that's one like we kind of do anyway. The more complicated one is when we have one double up. So let's say that this triangle person is doubled up, but these guys are not. What should that one actually? So this guy has a circle and a square as well. Okay. In this scenario, what we're actually going to do in terms of speeding things up, because you would have seen with the last one, each person only had to give out 2 shapes and then collect their 2 shapes and they're done. I kind of want to make that happen with this one as well. So what I want to have happen is like the triangle person's easy, right? The triangle still goes over here. This triangle still goes over here. Okay. Oh, sorry. Not that. It goes over here. Triangle person still just distributes as per normally. The square and the circle person have the slightly harder job. Okay. What they need to do is they need to recognize that like the square isn't going to go to square anymore. Okay. It's actually going to go across over to the triangle person. Okay. And the circle is going to end up over here. All right. And then the same happens with the circle and the square over on this side over here, right? Okay. Because like the circle, we don't want to go to the circle person. Okay. So the circle person has to go to the triangle. Okay. Which means that the square has to go to the other one. So, and you can instantly see already everyone has the shapes that they need and they can go back getting out as long as Dissect's done their job. So what these 2 people here need to realize is that like they have a circle here. Okay, that circle. Okay, well, actually, I'll go. This person has a square, right? Okay, they can't pass the square, like the square to the square person because you want to get out straight away. What that needs to do is it needs to go over to the triangle person, which leaves the circle needs to go over to the square person. Okay, so, and obviously the same with the square person over here. So, like, they have a square, right? They have a circle. The circle doesn't go to the circle person, so it needs to go over to the triangle person, which leaves that the square needs to go to the circle person over here. All right. Now, that's one solution to it. Again, this still like leaves Dissect outside to still do the exact same job and they're sorted. Okay. Literally the exact same for outside. The much harder solution, and I don't say that for the people that are inside, I say this for the people that are outside, is imagine that these 2 guys, or the 3 people that are inside, all have, like, none of them are doubled up. So this is going to be circle, square. This is going to be triangle, square. Okay. In this scenario, I want us to do exactly what the last time was, but with 3 people instead of just 2 people doing the same thing, right? So this person on triangle needs to recognize that this circle is not going to go to the circle person. Okay, it's actually going to go across to the other person, okay, to the square, which means that this triangle is going to end up with the circle person. Okay, and then this person has a square. Square can't go to square. Okay, it goes to the triangle person. Okay, and the circle goes to the other way. Okay, same thing with the square over here, right? Okay, they have a triangle. Triangle doesn't go to the triangle person. It goes to the circle person. Okay, and then the square, okay, goes over to the triangle person. Now, this doesn't look like a solution, okay, but it actually is. All right, this is a solution to be able to actually get out. what this requires is for Rowan and us on Dissect to be able to actually make sure that the left statue is holding a cube, the middle statue is holding a tetrahedron, okay, kind of D4, and the square person is holding a sphere. All right, so that's a slightly different shift in our way of thinking, Rowan, but it shouldn't be that much kind of more difficult to manage in our world. This still only allows for one passing, okay? The only issue I foresee with this is if, and this is not for the people that are inside, this is for the person that's outside doing the dissection, is if the person gets a dissecting gets the doubled up shapes. Like if they get the like pyramid, the sphere, and the cube, this is complete, like this combination of outside shapes and this combination of inside shapes is completely and utterly screwed. Like there is no way to go about salvaging this if this does happen. If this does happen, we would then go back to like the original kind of LFG solution, doubling up and then distribute. I don't think that this particular like scenario of everyone getting different shapes here and this double up can happen at the same time. I don't believe that can happen. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to play around with it and actually get into the encounter and see what it looks like. But yeah, so that's kind of how it would go. So essentially what I'm kind of looking for is, again, if you're the triangle person, you need to identify that you have a circle. The circle does not go to the circle person. It has to go to the other person, which means that the triangle needs to go to the circle person. So the triangle, or the shape that you have, goes to the statue of your other shape. Okay, that's the kind of key thing that we're kind of changing here, as opposed to doubling up and distributing. I do want to get in practice seeing how long it takes to double up, distribute, do the dissection, do the 3 ghosts, and go from there. I think in this case, we're going to want to run like Aeons and Cenotaph at least when we get outside, like when everyone gets back into that middle room for those 2 unstops. Like Cenotaph and finishing those ogres is going to like, and you know, the person outside, so Roll and I run Xenophage, and we just use that heavy to melt the knights, is going to be pretty big. But we'll test it out when we get there. So, let me know what you think. We'll obviously talk about it at some point soon.